Hello and welcome to Revenge Nexus. If you're new here, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, because today we're diving deep into a story that will pull at your heartstrings and keep you on the edge of your seat. This is not just another tale of love lost, it's a saga of betrayal, redemption and the quest for justice. Now, let's begin. In a city where neon lights danced on rain-soaked streets and every whispered secret found its way into the urban night, Amara's life appeared to be a dream woven from the threads of hope and passion. Once an optimist, her heart had learned the language of love through whispered promises and tender embraces. Every step she took was filled with the conviction that love could conquer all, even the darkest betrayals. The story opens on a crisp autumn evening. Amara sits in a quaint cafe, her eyes fixed on the gentle sway of falling leaves. Memories of laughter and stolen moments with Arav, the man who had once filled her life with radiant joy, now mingle with the bitter taste of betrayal. The aroma of fresh coffee mingled with the heavy silence of a life about to change forever. Have you ever felt that moment when everything you believed in starts to crumble? What would you do if you discovered that the person you trusted most had been living a lie? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. As Amara reflects, subtle clues hint at the impending storm. A text message from an unknown number, a friend's wary glance, and the distant echo of whispers in the wind all serve as harbingers of the betrayal that would soon shatter her once perfect world. In this opening act, the seeds of both romance and revenge are planted. The warm hues of budding love are juxtaposed with the cool shadows of impending treachery. Amara's inner monologue, a blend of wistfulness and determination, sets the stage for the journey that lies ahead. Every detail, every pause in the narrative is designed to draw you, the viewer, deeper into the mystery. Could love ever survive when trust is broken beyond repair? What would you do in Amara's shoes? Would you let heartbreak define you, or would you rise above it to reclaim your power? Share your thoughts and don't forget to comment below. As the screen fades from the soft glow of the cafe to the harsh reality of the city's midnight alleys, Amara makes a silent vow. The gentle murmur of the city becomes the anthem of her inner resolve. Tonight, in the quiet solitude of her room, she begins to draft the blueprint of her transformation from a heart once open to love to a spirit defiant against deceit. Under the gentle glow of a twilight sky, Amara's world began to shift. In the weeks following that fateful evening, life took on the delicate hues of hope and possibility. Her heart, still tender from the subtle stirrings of betrayal hinted at in the early days, now found itself drawn to moments that seemed almost too perfect to be true. It was on one such evening, when the city's clamour faded into a soft lullaby, that Amara first truly felt the magic of love blossoming anew. She met Arav again, this time in the quiet corner of a bustling art gallery. The walls, draped in vibrant canvases and whispered stories of passion, mirrored the spark in his eyes as they met hers. There was an unspoken understanding between them, a promise of renewal that danced like shadows across the room. Their conversation flowed as naturally as a meandering stream. Arav's voice was gentle yet persuasive, a symphony that played on the chords of her heart. "I believe every scar tells a story," he said softly, his eyes locking with hers, as if searching for the truth in every syllable. In that moment, Amara's wounds, still raw from old betrayals, began to mend under the soothing balm of newfound affection. As days melted into nights, the two discovered shared passions that went far beyond the surface-level excitement of a new romance. They strolled along rain-slicked streets, their laughter blending with the distant hum of the city. In quiet cafes and under the starry veil of midnight, they traded stories of their dreams, ambitions, and the bittersweet lessons learned from past heartaches. Yet, amid the tender exchanges and gentle caresses, subtle hints of mystery began to emerge. A lingering question in Arav's eyes, a slight hesitation when discussing his past, and the occasional cryptic smile. Each detail was a note in a melody that promised both beauty and complexity. The contrast between the blossoming love and the lingering shadows of suspicion set the stage for the emotional tempest that lay ahead. Have you ever been so enchanted by someone that even the smallest hint of mystery left you both intrigued and uneasy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. In private moments, as Amara lay awake under the soft glow of her bedside lamp, she would replay their conversations, looking for clues in every word. Was it possible that her heart was deceiving her once more? Yet, the gentle reassurance of Arav's presence, his warm hand, the way his eyes softened when they met hers, seemed to wash away the remnants of past betrayals. Their romance, painted in hues of soft romance and underlying tension, was not without its complications. While the days promised laughter and connection, the nights were sometimes haunted by the echoes of old wounds and unanswered questions. Amara found herself questioning whether the perfect moments were simply a prelude to deeper secrets. Nevertheless, she allowed herself to be swept away by the magic of the present, clinging to the hope that this time, love would truly conquer all. As the gallery lights dimmed and they stepped out into the cool evening air, Arav reached out to gently tuck a stray lock of hair behind her ear. "Every moment with you feels like the start of something beautiful," he murmured, and for a fleeting second the world seemed to stand still. The intimacy of that gesture, a simple act of tenderness, became a symbol of their shared vulnerability and the fragile beauty of trust. The narrative of their growing closeness was interlaced with whispered secrets and shared dreams. Each encounter was a delicate dance between passion and caution. In bustling city parks during long, meandering conversations over steaming cups of coffee, and in the silent interludes between spoken words, the connection between Amara and Arav deepened. It was as if the universe itself had conspired to mend a heart that had known only the harshness of betrayal. Yet beneath the surface of these tender moments, the tension of the unknown continued to simmer. The audience is invited to reflect. Do you think it's possible to fully trust someone when the past has left its mark on your heart? Share your thoughts and experiences below. Amara's inner voice was a constant companion during these days of blossoming romance. While her heart celebrated the newfound affection, her mind, scarred by previous deceptions, remained ever vigilant. Every whispered word and every shared smile was weighed against the possibility of a hidden truth. Could love flourish when the ghost of betrayal still lingered in the background? In the midst of these swirling emotions, Amara began to notice the little things. A slight change in Arav's tone when discussing his previous relationships, an almost imperceptible pause before he answered her probing questions about the future. These moments, though fleeting, planted a seed of cautious curiosity. They served as a reminder that even the most beautiful love stories are sometimes written with shades of grey. This section, rich in both the promise of romance and the foreboding of secrets, sets the stage for what is to come. The tension between trust and suspicion forms the heartbeat of the narrative, making every encounter a mix of hope and uncertainty. And as viewers, you're left wondering what hidden truths might lie beneath the surface of a seemingly perfect romance. Let us know in the comments how you think this love story might unfold. A subtle shift in the rhythm of Amara's days began to unsettle the tender cocoon of her new romance. Despite the moments of warmth and gentle intimacy, an undercurrent of doubt had started to ripple beneath the surface of her heart. It was during one otherwise ordinary evening, when the city was bathed in the soft glow of twilight, that the fragile illusion of perfection began to crack. Amara returned home from a dinner with Arav, her mind still dancing between the sweetness of their shared laughter and the nagging questions that refused to fade. In the quiet solitude of her apartment, as the city hummed its nighttime lullaby outside, she discovered a series of messages on Arav's phone, messages that were not meant for her eyes. The words on the screen were cold and clinical, a stark contrast to the gentle reassurances he had given her just moments before. They spoke of hidden meetings and secret rendezvous with another, a betrayal that sliced through her soul. For a long, agonizing moment, time seemed to freeze. The air in the room thickened with a mix of disbelief and sorrow. Amara's heart pounded with the realization that the man who had promised her a love so deep was, in fact, weaving a tapestry of deceit behind her back. The evidence was irrefutable. Every word, every timestamp on those messages was a reminder of how trust, once so carefully nurtured, had been callously discarded. Have you ever found yourself questioning every promise after a single shattering discovery? We want to know, how do you cope when trust is broken? Share your thoughts in the comments below. In the aftermath of this discovery, Amara's inner world erupted in a storm of conflicting emotions. Rage and sorrow collided as she replayed every memory, every whispered promise, now tainted by the shadow of betrayal. The pain was not just about the loss of love, it was a deep, gnawing sense of injustice. How could someone so cherished be capable of such duplicity? The initial shock gradually transformed into a fierce determination. As the tears dried on her cheeks, a cold, clear thought began to crystallize in her mind. She would no longer be a victim of deceit. The betrayal had awakened something dormant within her, a resilient spirit ready to fight back and reclaim control. Every pang of hurt became fuel for a burgeoning desire for retribution. In a series of tense, introspective moments, Amara found herself scouring every detail of the messages, piecing together a narrative of deception. Each revelation was a step closer to understanding the full extent of Arav's lies. With every message, the image of the man she thought she loved grew stranger and more foreign, a facade that had hidden his true intentions all along. Yet amidst the bitterness, a part of her longed for the warmth of the romance they once shared. Memories of their stolen glances and whispered dreams intermingled with the harsh reality of betrayal. Was it possible that somewhere between love and deceit she could salvage a semblance of the beauty they once had? Or was the path of retribution the only way to heal her shattered trust? When the truth emerges, can love ever be redeemed? Or must we let go entirely? Share your perspective and let us know. What would you do if you were in Amara's shoes? The room, once filled with the promise of new beginnings, now bore the weight of a grim truth. With her heart bruised but her resolve strengthening, Amara realised that the journey ahead would not only be about confronting the betrayal, but also about rediscovering her own self-worth. Every betrayal, every painful revelation was a turning point, a chance to redefine her future on her own terms. In this moment of profound transformation, the narrative of her life took on a dual tone, one of deep sorrow for what was lost and a fierce determination to rise above the treachery. The seeds of revenge had been planted, promising to grow into a campaign of reclaiming dignity and exacting justice. Amara, sitting by a rain-speckled window, clutches the evidence in one hand, while her other hand writes down her thoughts, each word a vow to herself. The viewer is left with an open question. What would you do if you discovered the one you loved was living a lie? Comment below with your thoughts and join the conversation. In the heavy silence that followed the shattering revelation of betrayal, a new fire began to kindle within Amara. The lingering pain of deceit soon transformed into a focused determination. No longer was she simply a broken soul mourning lost love. The betrayal had awakened a latent power, a fierce resolve to fight back and reclaim what was rightfully hers. One rainy evening, as the city's lights blurred into reflections on slick, uneven pavement, Amara sat alone in her modest living room, The storm outside was a mirror to the tempest inside her. In her trembling hands lay the damning evidence of Arav's deceit, but rather than allowing despair to take hold, she began to scribble fervently in her journal. Each word, each sentence was a declaration of her transformation from a heart broken by betrayal to a woman fueled by the need for retribution. Is it possible for pain to be the spark that ignites a revolution in one's life? We want to hear your thoughts. Have you ever turned heartbreak into a strength? Let us know in the comments below. As the thunder roared and the rain pounded the window pane, Amara's mind raced with possibilities. She envisioned a meticulously crafted plan that would not only expose Arav's lies, but also serve as a cathartic act of self-empowerment. The spark of revenge was not a blind desire to hurt. It was a calculated decision to dismantle the foundation of deception upon which her shattered trust had been built. In the midst of her reflections, memories of better days flashed by. Moments of gentle intimacy and whispered promises now mingled with the harsh sting of betrayal. It was this duality that gave her plan its edge. She would use the very remnants of their romance against him, turning each tender memory into a stepping stone on her path to justice. Her strategy began with gathering every scrap of evidence, every overheard conversation, every whispered secret that Arav had carelessly left behind. With each piece collected, Amara felt a surge of power and clarity. The pain was still there, but it was no longer a weight. It was the fuel that propelled her forward. How far would you go to reclaim your self-worth after a deep betrayal? Share your thoughts in the comments. Would you seek revenge or strive for forgiveness? Late into the night, as she mapped out her course of action on a whiteboard, Amara's eyes glistened with determination. The plan was multifaceted, designed not only to expose Arav's deceit, but also to restore her sense of self. It was a plan that balanced the scales of justice and self-respect, a delicate dance between the echoes of lost love and the promise of retribution. Her inner monologue grew bolder with every stroke of the pen. I will no longer be the victim, she vowed silently. I will rise from these ashes and forge a future where I am in control. Each note, each detail meticulously recorded was a testament to her emerging resolve. As the clock ticked into the early hours, the transformation was complete. Amara was no longer defined solely by the love she had lost, but by the strength she had discovered within herself. The spark of revenge had been lit, and there was no turning back. The woman who once trusted so wholeheartedly was now ready to reclaim her power, one calculated step at a time. When facing betrayal, do you believe that revenge is a path to healing or further pain? Comment below with your thoughts and experiences. In this moment of clarity, Amara's journey took on a new dimension. A journey not just of heartbreak and loss, but of reclamation and rebirth. The screen fades on her determined gaze, leaving viewers with one final question for this section. How will the flames of revenge reshape her destiny? The early light of dawn found Amara at her desk, surrounded by scattered notes, photographs and fragments of digital conversations. Her once tender heart had now sharpened into a tool of precision. The spark of revenge had ignited a fire, and with it came an unwavering resolve to reclaim her dignity by piecing together every detail of Arav's deceit. Every item on her desk carried a story, a forgotten email, a half-finished note on her phone, and even a crumpled receipt from a cafe they once frequented. Each piece was a fragment of the puzzle that would ultimately reveal the full extent of Arav's betrayal. With a steady hand and a mind honed by both pain and purpose, Amara began to organise her findings into a comprehensive dossier. Sitting before her laptop, she meticulously combed through digital archives and old text messages. Every timestamp, every detail was noted with clinical precision. In the background, soft instrumental music played, a bittersweet reminder of the love that had once been, now transformed into the cadence of retribution. Have you ever felt that each piece of evidence, no matter how small, could change the course of your future? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. What small detail later turned out to be the most significant in your own life? As the hours passed, the room filled with the hum of her focused determination. Amara reached out to a trusted friend, Ria, whose resourcefulness and unyielding loyalty had always been a beacon in dark times. Over a quiet phone call in the stillness of the morning, Amara detailed her plan. Ria's voice was both cautious and resolute as she promised to help dig deeper into Arav's past associations, financial records, and any leads that could further validate Amara's suspicions. Their conversation was interspersed with recollections of better times, a bittersweet reminder of the romance that once painted Amara's world with vibrant colours. Despite the looming shadow of revenge, there remained a quiet corner of her heart that remembered the warmth of those early days. Yet that tender memory only fueled her resolve to ensure that such betrayal would never be repeated. Later that day, Amara met with a small circle of confidants in a discreet cafe off the beaten path. Each person at the table brought their own expertise, from a tech-savvy friend capable of retrieving deleted data to an old acquaintance who had once dabbled in investigative journalism. Over cups of strong coffee and hushed conversations, they laid out the first blueprints of her plan. The air was thick with a shared determination, a pact that their collective efforts would force Arav's facade to crumble under the weight of undeniable truth. In between these meetings, Amara revisited places that held memories of their once happy times. The old park bench where they had once shared their dreams, the restaurant where Arav had whispered sweet promises, even the quiet corners of the city where laughter had once filled the air. All of these became markers in her growing map of evidence. Each location was scoured for clues, each memory re-examined under the stark light of her newfound purpose. Do you think that revisiting old memories helps us piece together the truth, or does it only prolong the pain? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. As dusk approached, the foundation of Amara's plan had been laid out like an intricate tapestry of past love and present betrayal. Every conversation, every visit, and every piece of evidence added another thread to her emerging narrative of revenge. In her journal, she recorded her thoughts, frustrations, and the smallest victories. A recovered deleted file here, a corroborated rumour there. Each entry was a stepping stone towards the moment when the truth would be revealed to all. Yet, even as her plan took shape, a question lingered in the back of her mind. Amidst the pursuit of retribution, could the remnants of love ever be rekindled? It was a silent echo, a reminder that sometimes the heart is both the architect of revenge and the keeper of fragile hope. This internal conflict painted her mission with shades of grey, adding complexity to her character and depth to her quest for justice. In a quiet, reflective moment before retiring for the night, Amara stared at the sprawling cityscape from her window. The lights below flickered like distant memories, and in that luminous dance, she found both the beauty of what once was and the promise of what would be reclaimed. Every decision made, every piece of evidence gathered was a step closer to rewriting her narrative, a narrative where betrayal was met with unwavering strength and love, though scarred, transformed into a force for reclaiming her life. What do you believe is the most critical step when seeking justice after betrayal? We invite you to share your thoughts below and join the conversation. As the night deepened, Amara closed her journal with a determined sigh. The groundwork was set, the pieces were in place. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and revelations, but tonight she slept with the comforting knowledge that every detail was leading her closer to a final reckoning, a reckoning that promised not just revenge, but a restoration of her self-worth. As the days turned into restless nights, a palpable tension crept into the lives of both Amara and Arav. While Amara was deep in her covert preparations, Arav's instincts began to whisper that secrets were gathering in the shadows of his own life. The balance between love and suspicion, once delicately maintained, now teetered on the brink of chaos. Arav's routine was subtly disrupted. He found himself double-checking his messages and growing increasingly agitated over unexpected visits and unfamiliar names appearing on his phone. Every phone call and every hurried glance at his screen added layers to his growing paranoia. It wasn't long before the once casual charm of his conversations took on a cautious tone, a sign that he too was starting to feel the weight of unseen eyes and unspoken truths. Meanwhile, Amara moved through her days with a quiet determination, her focus unyielding, despite the occasional pang of guilt that whispered reminders of the love she once believed in. Her carefully documented evidence now began to form a coherent narrative, a tapestry of deceit that would soon come crashing down. Each meticulously noted detail was a step toward exposing the man who had once held her heart. Late one evening, as rain tapped softly against her window, Amara received an anonymous tip that confirmed her suspicions about Arav's clandestine activities. The message, brief yet damning, urged her to act before the web of lies tightened around him completely. Her pulse quickened as she realised the stakes had just been raised. This was no longer a private vendetta, but a public reckoning in the making. Have you ever felt that prickling sense of being watched or that something just isn't right? Let us know in the comments. When did your intuition alert you to hidden truths? Across town, Arav's demeanour began to change as well. Subtle shifts in his behaviour, a forced smile, a hesitation before answering personal questions, became apparent to those around him. Friends who once marvelled at his charm now exchanged worried glances, sensing that his carefully constructed facade was beginning to crumble. In crowded social settings, the distance in his eyes grew, as if he was searching for answers in every fleeting glance, every shadow. The mounting suspicion and fear transformed Arav's interactions into a dance of half-truths and guarded responses. His calls home grew shorter, his excuses more frequent. Every encounter became a game of cat and mouse, where trust was eroded by a mounting pressure that neither could fully articulate. In a moment of rare vulnerability, Arav found himself alone in a dimly lit room, the weight of his mounting suspicions finally overtaking him. He stared into the mirror, his reflection a stark reminder of the man he once was, a man of promise and passion, now haunted by the spectre of betrayal. The internal battle raged within him, a desperate desire to maintain his carefully curated image versus the undeniable reality of his misdeeds. Do you think that hidden truths eventually force themselves into the light, or can they be kept secret forever? Share your thoughts in the comments below and join the discussion. For Amara, every new discovery only strengthened her resolve. As she pieced together further evidence, she began to reach out to her growing network of allies. Together, they held late-night meetings in quiet, secluded locations, exchanging insights and strategizing their next moves. Each conversation was laced with urgency, every shared detail another brick in the wall of truth she was constructing. Yet even as the gears of revenge started turning, a flicker of doubt remained. Amid the meticulous planning and the cold logic of retribution, Amara's heart ached with memories of tender moments that once held promise. Was it possible that the man she loved could still harbour a redeeming side, or was every kind gesture now tainted by the impending collapse of his lies? When suspicion turns into certainty, is it ever too late for redemption, or does the truth demand its due? Weigh in below. How do you balance trust and doubt in relationships? As this section draws to a close, the narrative tightens its grip on the inevitable clash between two worlds, one built on secrets and half-truths, the other on a burning desire for justice. The stage is set for an explosive confrontation where both Amara's carefully laid plans and Arav's crumbling defences will be put to the ultimate test. The tension that had been building over days and nights finally exploded on a cool, overcast evening. Amara had arranged to meet Arav at a quiet, secluded park, their once favoured meeting place, now transformed into the stage for a reckoning neither could avoid. As Amara walked the dimly lit path toward the park's centre, her heart pounded with a mixture of fear and steely resolve. Every step was measured, each one a silent declaration that she was no longer the naive woman who once basked in the glow of his affection. The cool air did little to dampen the internal fire that now burned within her, a fire forged by betrayal and fueled by the need for justice. Arav, waiting under the skeletal branches of an ancient oak, appeared more vulnerable than she had ever seen him. Gone was the easy charm that had once masked his misdeeds. In its place was a man wrestling with the crushing weight of his own duplicity. His eyes, once so confident and full of unspoken promises, now flickered with uncertainty and the shadow of guilt. Without preamble, Amara stepped into the clearing. The silence between them was thick, charged with years of unspoken words and the gravity of the moment. For a few heartbeats, neither spoke, each absorbing the stark reality of what lay before them. Why? Amara's voice, when it finally broke the stillness, was quiet yet unyielding. It was a question that carried the weight of every promise broken and every moment of joy that had been tainted by deception. Why did you do it? Her tone was neither angry shriek nor accusatory shout, but a raw, pained inquiry, a desperate search for truth amidst the ruins of their love. Arav's gaze faltered under the intensity of her stare. His eyes darted away as if trying to escape the piercing honesty in her question. For a long moment the air was filled only with the soft rustle of leaves and the distant hum of a city, unaware of the private storm unfolding in the park. Have you ever faced a moment so charged with emotion that it felt as if time itself had stopped? Share your thoughts in the comments below. What would you say if you were in Amara's shoes? As the silence stretched, Arav's defences began to crumble. He shifted uncomfortably, his voice shaky as he attempted to offer an explanation. I never meant to hurt you, he stammered, the words sounding hollow even to his own ears. But his explanation, laden with half-truths and regrets, only deepened the chasm between them. Amara's eyes glistened with unshed tears, a blend of sorrow and the fierce determination of someone who had finally reclaimed her narrative. Hurting me was never your intention, was it? She pressed, her voice rising imperceptibly with the force of her conviction. Every syllable was laced with the pain of a love betrayed and the strength of a woman who would no longer be defined by another's mistakes. In that charged moment, the park transformed into a confessional, a space where secrets were laid bare and hearts, once shrouded in illusion, were exposed in their raw vulnerability. Arav's face contorted with regret as he struggled to find words that could mend the wounds his actions had inflicted. Yet no matter how softly he spoke, the damage was undeniable. Do you believe that the truth can ever mend a broken heart, or is some damage too deep to heal? We invite you to share your perspective below. As the confrontation deepened, the conversation took on an almost surreal quality. Memories of their happier times flashed before them, a time when promises were made under starlit skies and every smile carried the warmth of unconditional trust. But those memories now served as painful reminders of the betrayal that had stripped them both of innocence. Amara's inner voice was a constant companion during these fraught minutes, reminding her of the strength she had discovered in the aftermath of deceit. Though her heart ached with the loss of what might have been, she recognized that this confrontation was not merely an act of venting her pain, it was the beginning of a transformation. With every word, every tear, she was reclaiming her power, turning her heartbreak into a stepping stone toward her ultimate retribution. Arav's defenses continued to collapse under the weight of her unwavering gaze. In a desperate attempt to justify his actions, he murmured, "I was lost, and I thought I could find a way out, without hurting you." But even as he spoke, Amara could see through the veneer of his justification, a mask that crumbled beneath the truth of his betrayal. "Find a way out? At what cost?" Amara challenged, her tone both sorrowful and resolute. "You cost me everything I believed in." Her words, though soft, struck like 1,000 shards of glass. Each one was a reminder of every dream that had been shattered, every trust that had been broken. The confrontation reached a crescendo as Arav's face, etched with regret and despair, revealed the man he had become, a man haunted by the very lies he had spun. The park, with its fading daylight and the whisper of the wind through barren branches, bore witness to a moment of irreversible change. This was not just a collision of two souls, it was the collision of truth with the lingering echoes of a lost love. In moments of raw confrontation, do you think redemption is possible, or is it only the beginning of an irrevocable end? Let us know in the comments below what you think happens next. As the first confrontation drew to a close, a heavy silence fell over the clearing once more. The air was thick with the residue of emotions that had been laid bare. Amara's eyes, though filled with tears, burned with an inner fire, a promise that this was only the first step in her journey toward reclaiming her dignity. Arav, now visibly diminished by the confrontation, could only stand in silence, the echoes of his lies reverberating in the cold night air. For Amara, this moment was both an ending and a beginning, a painful farewell to the illusions of a love once cherished, and the ignition of a campaign for justice that would redefine her future. And as she turned to leave, her final glance back was not one of lingering affection, but of steely resolve, a promise that the truth would prevail no matter the cost. What would you have done if you were Amara during this heart-wrenching confrontation? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. In the days following their explosive confrontation, the atmosphere around Amara thickened with a relentless determination. What began as quiet preparation had now blossomed into an active, intricate plan, one that would challenge Arav's carefully constructed world and expose the dark secrets he tried to hide. Late one evening, under the cover of a starless sky, Amara met with her small circle of allies in an abandoned warehouse that had once served as a hidden haven. The space was dimly lit, its cold concrete walls echoing the urgency of their whispered discussions. Each member of her makeshift team played a crucial role. One was a digital sleuth tasked with retrieving deleted data, another specialised in tracking financial transactions, and yet another had intimate knowledge of Arav's business dealings. Together they formed a network of precision and resolve. At the head of a battered table, Amara unfurled a detailed blueprint, a mosaic of timelines, locations, and connections that traced every illicit move Arav had ever made. With each marker on the map, her plan gained a sharper focus, evolving from a collection of grievances into a formidable force of retribution. This wasn't a blind act of anger, it was a calculated strategy to dismantle his empire of lies piece by piece. Do you believe that a well-laid plan can truly restore balance after betrayal, or does revenge always carry its own risks? Share your thoughts in the comments below and join the conversation. The digital world played its own pivotal role in this escalation. Amara's tech-savvy ally had managed to recover a series of encrypted emails and confidential files that held incriminating evidence of Arav's deceitful practices. Each new piece of information was like a match to dry tinder, promising to ignite a blaze of public exposure. As the evidence accumulated, Amara's inner resolve was mirrored by the growing fervour of her team. They knew that every uncovered secret was a step closer to unveiling the truth to a world that had long been deceived. Yet even as she orchestrated this intricate web of retribution, a nagging vulnerability tugged at Amara's heart. Amid the fervour of planning and the thrill of impending justice, echoes of her once tender love with Arav still reverberated in quiet moments of solitude. Memories of shared laughter and soft whispers, though tainted by betrayal, reminded her of the delicate humanity behind her quest. In those fleeting moments, she wondered if part of him, perhaps a vestige of the man she had once cherished, might still exist beneath the layers of his deception. This internal conflict, however, only added depth to her character. It reinforced that her quest was as much about reclaiming her own identity as it was about punishing the wrongdoer. With a resolute gaze, Amara resolved that the coming days would be about balancing this duality, the calculated precision of her plan and the lingering ache of what might have been a true love. As the night deepened, the meeting drew to a close with final, decisive remarks. "Tomorrow we move to phase 2, Amara declared, her voice a blend of steely command and quiet sorrow. "Every piece of evidence, every connection, every lie, tonight we sharpen the tools of truth. We expose him for what he truly is." Her words hung heavy in the air, igniting a renewed sense of purpose among her allies. When planning revenge, do you think the pursuit of justice can coexist with the remnants of past love, or do they always conflict? Let us know in the comments below what you think and share your own experiences. In the weeks to come, Arav would begin to feel the tremors of this escalating plan. Unexplained glitches in his finances, anonymous messages, and a mounting public whisper of scandal began to erode the fortress he had so meticulously built around himself. Every move he made was shadowed by the creeping realization that the truth, long suppressed, was about to erupt. The tension that had been simmering beneath the surface finally exploded into a moment of irreversible change. In a scene that felt both fated and electrifying, a critical piece of evidence surfaced, a recording that captured Arav confessing details of his deceptions to a mysterious accomplice. The revelation was as sudden as it was shattering, marking the precise moment when the scales tipped and the future became irrevocably altered. Late one rainy night, as Amara sat in the solitude of her study, a discreet notification flashed on her phone. It was a secure message from one of her allies, accompanied by an audio file that left little room for doubt. With trembling hands, she pressed play. The voice of Arav, unguarded and raw, spilled secrets that confirmed every shred of suspicion she had painstakingly pieced together. The confession was unequivocal. This was the turning point she had been waiting for. Have you ever experienced a moment when the truth hit you like a tidal wave, changing everything in an instant? Share your thoughts in the comments below. How would you react to such a revelation? The impact of the recording reverberated through Amara's entire being. For a brief instant, the memory of their shared tender moments and whispered promises mingled with the bitterness of betrayal. But in that moment, she knew there was no turning back. This was not merely a confrontation of past lies. It was the catalyst for a future defined by unyielding resolve and the pursuit of justice. Determined to confront this turning point head-on, Amara decided it was time to take her plan into the public arena. She reached out to a trusted journalist known for exposing corporate and personal fraud, someone who had the platform to broadcast the truth far and wide. The ensuing collaboration would set off a chain reaction, one that threatened to dismantle the carefully built facade that Arav had maintained for so long. Across town, Arav began to sense the shifting winds of fate. Unexplained financial irregularities, mysterious visits from investigative officers, and an increasingly hostile environment forced him into a corner. His confident veneer was crumbling, and he could no longer ignore the fact that the evidence against him was mounting. The turning point wasn't just a revelation, it was a complete upheaval of his carefully constructed world. In a parallel narrative of mounting desperation, Arav's inner turmoil spilled over into erratic behaviour. Once a master of deception, he now found himself grappling with panic and regret. Every conversation, every guarded glance with his colleagues hinted at the impending collapse of his dual life. His world of luxury and false promises was being replaced by the harsh glare of accountability and exposure. When faced with a turning point that leaves no room for denial, do you think the truth can set someone free, or does it inevitably lead to downfall? Let us know your perspective in the comments below. As the night deepened, Amara prepared for the next phase of her strategy. The recording had not only validated her suspicions, it had transformed her mission from a personal vendetta into a public crusade for justice. The decision was made. The truth would no longer be confined to the shadows. It would be unleashed upon a world that deserved to know the reality of betrayal and the cost of deceit. The stage was now set for a dramatic confrontation that would reverberate far beyond the lives of those involved. For Amara, the turning point was not just about revenge, it was about reclaiming her identity, asserting her worth, and proving that even in the face of profound betrayal, the truth remains an unassailable force. What would you do if a single moment forced you to confront your darkest truths? Share your reactions and personal experiences in the comments below. Under a sky heavy with the promise of a storm, the final act of Amara's relentless pursuit of justice took shape in a confrontation that no one could have predicted. The air vibrated with attention as every secret, every hidden truth and every echo of past tenderness converged in a single fateful moment. Amara stood at the centre of a crowded press conference, the room alive with murmurs of anticipation and the crackle of cameras. In her hand was the damning recording, a piece of evidence that not only sealed Arav's fate but also exposed the many layers of his deception. The journalist by her side had arranged this moment as a public reckoning, a stage set for truth to shatter the carefully maintained illusions of love and loyalty. Across the room, Arav's eyes darted with desperation and regret. Once the charming face of promise, he now wore the haunted look of a man trapped by his own lies. The confrontation was inevitable. With every word that Amara spoke, every detail of his betrayal laid bare for the world to see, the veneer of sophistication that had long shielded him began to crumble. His voice, which had once whispered sweet nothings of devotion, now faltered under the weight of undeniable evidence. Do you believe that truth can truly redeem a broken heart, or does it simply expose the scars beneath? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. In the midst of the public outcry, Amara's mind wandered to the bittersweet remnants of their once cherished love. There were moments when she had seen a glimmer of genuine care in Arav's eyes, moments that had made her heart flutter with hope. But those memories now mingled with the pain of betrayal, a stark reminder that love, no matter how deep, can sometimes be built on shifting sands. Her voice, calm yet resolute, carried across the room as she recounted not only the evidence of his treachery, but also the intimate details of their shared past. The raw honesty in her narration left the audience spellbound, a collective witness to the collapse of a love story turned tragedy. Each revelation was a blow to the illusions that had once given him power, and with every word, Amara reclaimed a piece of herself that had been lost in the shadows of deceit. A hush fell over the crowd as Arav attempted to speak, his words dissolving into a series of apologetic murmurs that barely registered against the storm of emotions in the room. It was in that silence that Amara's transformation was complete. From a heart once filled with unconditional love to a woman forged in the fires of betrayal and destined for retribution. What do you think happens when love and betrayal collide on a public stage? Can true justice ever emerge from such raw emotion? We'd love to hear your perspective in the comments below. As the climax of the confrontation unfolded, the narrative took on a cathartic quality, a final, heart-wrenching moment of reckoning. The press conference was not just a denouncement of Arav's actions. It was a powerful testament to Amara's journey from vulnerability to empowerment. The duality of her pain and her resolve resonated deeply, offering a poignant reminder that sometimes the path to healing begins with the courage to confront one's darkest truths. In that charged atmosphere, every eye in the room bore witness to the dissolution of a deceitful past. The truth had been unleashed with an intensity that left no room for denial or redemption. Amid the flashing cameras and murmuring crowd, Amara stood tall, a symbol of resilience, reclaiming her narrative through the fiery crucible of love, betrayal, and justice. When confronted with the ultimate clash of love and deceit, do you think revenge can ever lead to true closure, or is forgiveness the only path to healing? Share your thoughts and join the conversation below. In the aftermath of the public confrontation, as the dust of shattered illusions began to settle, an even deeper layer of truth emerged, one that neither Amara nor the audience had anticipated. Late one night, as the city slumbered under a blanket of quiet remorse, an unexpected visitor arrived at Amara's door. Clutched in the visitor's hand was a faded envelope, its edges worn by time and secrecy. Inside, a series of documents and photographs detailed a past that Amara had long buried, a past intricately connected to Arav's betrayal. As she pored over the contents, each piece of evidence seemed to whisper a forgotten story. The documents revealed that Arav's deceit was part of a much larger web, a network of lies that stretched back years, touching the lives of many who had trusted him. Even more startling were the personal notes that hinted at a long-hidden relationship between Arav and someone from Amara's own history, suggesting that the betrayal was not merely a product of a singular moment of weakness, but a meticulously planned act with far-reaching consequences. Have you ever discovered that the secrets of your past were entangled with the actions of someone you once trusted? Share your thoughts in the comments below. How did revelations about the past change your perspective? As the revelations unfolded, Amara felt a tumult of emotions, shock, sorrow, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal that cut even deeper than before. The discovery not only unmasked Arav's manipulation, but also forced her to confront painful memories of a time when her life was simpler, yet fraught with its own hidden scars. It became painfully clear that the man she thought she knew had orchestrated a web of deceit that extended into every corner of her existence. With every new piece of evidence, Amara's resolve solidified. The ultimate revelation was not just about Arav's failings. It was a call to reclaim her narrative from the clutches of a past marred by betrayal. Determined to seek the truth, no matter the personal cost, she began reaching out to those who might fill in the blanks: family members, old friends, and even former colleagues of Arav. Each conversation unveiled more pieces of the puzzle, painting a picture of calculated manipulation and shared complicity. In a quiet, candlelit room, Amara sat surrounded by mementos of her once innocent days. A box of photographs, letters yellowed with age, and trinkets from a life that had been hijacked by lies. The delicate balance between her lingering capacity for love and the burning need for vengeance was more conflicted than ever. Was there a part of Arav that had ever been genuine, or was his entire existence built on a foundation of falsehoods? When faced with the ultimate truth, can you ever go back to who you once were? Or do these revelations force you to forge a completely new identity? We invite you to share your personal reflections and experiences in the comments below. As the chapter of ultimate revelations unfolded, the narrative shifted into a space of raw vulnerability. Amara's inner monologue revealed a profound transformation. A woman who had been shattered by betrayal, now embracing the painful truth as a catalyst for rebirth. The lines between love and hatred, forgiveness and revenge blurred into a single searing truth: that the past, no matter how deeply hidden, will eventually demand its due. In that transformative moment, Amara made a silent vow to confront not only the external deceptions of Arav, but also the internal ghosts that had long haunted her. The evidence in her hands was more than a record of betrayal. It was the key to unlocking a future defined by truth and self-empowerment. The ultimate revelation, in all its devastating clarity, was the final piece that transformed her quest for revenge into a journey of profound personal discovery. What do you think? Can the pain of a deep betrayal eventually lead to self-discovery and healing, or does it only pave the way for further darkness? Share your insights in the comments below and join the conversation. Under a sky bruised with twilight, the stage was set for a confrontation that promised to be as irreversible as it was cathartic. The once segregated worlds of public humiliation and private anguish were about to collide in an arena where truth, justice, and vengeance would be the final arbiters. Amara, armed with the culmination of months of painstaking investigation, arrived at a deserted industrial estate chosen for its raw, uncompromising ambience. Every detail of her appearance, her steady gaze, the resolute set of her jaw, spoke of a transformation. The once vulnerable woman had been reborn as an agent of retribution. The evidence she carried was not only a record of Arav's duplicity, but a testament to the resilience of a spirit scarred by betrayal. Arav, cornered and desperate, waited in a dimly lit warehouse, his once confident facade now a mask of panic and regret. The cold concrete walls echoed his frantic breaths as he paced, aware that the final hour of his carefully constructed lies had come. Every step he took resonated with the inevitability of exposure, a descent into the abyss of his own making. When the two finally came face to face, the atmosphere crackled with tension. No longer could either hide behind half-truths or feigned innocence. Amara's voice, steady and commanding, broke the silence. "This ends now," she declared, her words reverberating off the concrete, carrying the weight of every broken promise and every stolen dream. "Your lies have built a prison, and today you will answer for every moment of betrayal. Arav's eyes, wide with terror, darted about as he searched for any escape from the storm of evidence that surrounded him. "Amara, please," he began, but his plea was drowned by the overwhelming certainty in her tone. The room filled with an almost tangible anticipation, each second stretching into an eternity as the confrontation unfolded. When all lies are laid bare, is there room for redemption or only the path to ruin? Share your thoughts in the comments below. How far do you think one should go when faced with ultimate betrayal? As Amara methodically presented the damning documents, recorded confessions, and corroborated testimonies, Arav's defences crumbled. Every revelation was a brick in the wall of his downfall. With each incriminating detail, the true extent of his deception was exposed, not just to the room, but to the public record that was now streaming live for all to witness. The confrontation escalated rapidly. Voices rose in a crescendo of accusation and despair as Arav attempted to justify his actions, his words dissolving into incoherent mutterings. Amara, unwavering, demanded accountability. "You destroyed my trust, my love, and my belief in honesty. Today, you will confront the consequences of every lie you told." Her voice, though laced with the pain of lost intimacy, resonated with an unyielding authority that left no room for negotiation. In the midst of this showdown, the gravity of their shared past and the poignant echo of a love turned sour, merged into one final shattering moment. For a fleeting second, Arav's expression flickered with the ghost of the man he might have been, the man who had once inspired hope in Amara. But that moment was swallowed by the full force of her determination. As she stepped closer, her presence a declaration that betrayal was a wound that could never be healed with excuses. When faced with the full fury of betrayal, do you believe that justice can ever truly be served? We invite you to share your perspective below. The final moments of the showdown were a blur of raw emotion and irreversible decisions. As the weight of public exposure and personal accountability descended upon Arav, he finally sank to his knees, his silence speaking louder than any words of contrition. In that stillness, Amara found not only the validation of her long-fought battle, but also the bittersweet closure that comes with confronting one's deepest pain. The warehouse, now a crucible of shattered illusions and unmasked truth, bore witness to a transformation that would forever alter both of their lives. Amara's eyes, glistening with a mix of sorrow and fierce resolve, met the broken gaze of Arav one last time. "This is your reckoning," she whispered, her tone both an end and a beginning, a promise that truth and justice, however painful, would prevail. What do you think is the price of unearthing hidden truths? And can one ever truly move on after such a confrontation? Share your thoughts and join the conversation below. In the days following the shattering final showdown, the adrenaline of Retribution slowly gave way to an unexpected silence, a silence filled with echoes of what had been sacrificed in the pursuit of justice. The public exposure of Arav's betrayal had been cathartic, but as the fervour subsided, Amara found herself grappling with the weight of her choices. Late one evening, Amara sat alone in a dimly lit room that once echoed with hope and love. The evidence, the recordings and the confessions were now neatly archived on her computer, symbols of a battle hard fought. Yet, as she traced her finger along the surface of an old photograph, one that captured a fleeting moment of genuine happiness between her and Arav, a profound sadness began to seep in. The cost of her revenge was more than just the collapse of a relationship. It was the shattering of the dreams and memories that had once defined her identity. The journey had transformed her. Where once there had been a vulnerability filled with trust and tender love, now resided a tempered strength carved out of loss and regret. With every piece of evidence gathered and every secret unveiled, a part of her innocence had been irrevocably lost. The victory over deception was bittersweet, as the realization set in that revenge, no matter how justified, had its own price, a price that weighed heavily on the soul. Have you ever achieved a victory only to realize that the cost was far greater than you anticipated. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What does victory mean to you when it comes with such sacrifices? In quiet moments of reflection, Amara began to question if the fire that had fueled her quest for justice had consumed more than just Arav's lies. It had also dimmed the light of the love she once believed in, a love that, despite its imperfections, had once promised a future filled with hope. The lingering question now was whether the pursuit of revenge had brought her closer to healing or further entrenched her in a cycle of pain and isolation. Her nights were filled with restless dreams where the faces of those she had lost in her single-minded pursuit of truth merged with the ghosts of her past. Each dream was a reminder of the delicate balance between righting a wrong and preserving the parts of oneself that still yearned for forgiveness and renewal. The relentless pursuit of justice had left her with scars that would take time to heal, a realization that the journey to reclaiming her identity was far from over. Amara began to seek solace in the quiet corners of her life, a favourite cafe where soft music played in the background, long walks under the stars, and even moments of silence shared with old friends who had remained by her side. In these small acts of self-care, she found a glimmer of hope, a chance to mend the pieces of her heart that had been shattered by betrayal and hardened by revenge. When the pursuit of revenge leaves scars, can the process of healing truly begin, or are some wounds too deep to ever fade? Share your insights in the comments below. What has helped you heal after a profound loss? As the section draws to a close, Amara's introspection gives way to a sober understanding that every act of retribution, no matter how empowering in the moment, carries with it the burden of loss. The cost of revenge was etched in every tear, every sleepless night, and every memory of what might have been. Yet within that painful cost lay the seeds of transformation, a chance to rebuild not only her shattered trust, but also to redefine her path toward a more compassionate future. In the quiet aftermath of her hard-won victory, Amara faced a simple yet profound truth. Healing is a journey, and forgiveness, whether for herself or even for those who wronged her, might one day be the key to unlocking a future where revenge no longer holds sway over her heart. Do you think true healing is possible after such deep betrayal, or do the scars of revenge shape us forever? Let us know your thoughts and share your experiences in the comments below. In the quiet aftermath of her battle against betrayal, Amara found herself at a crossroads, one where the painful scars of the past began to yield to the tender possibility of healing. The relentless pursuit of revenge had left its mark, but now, in the soft light of a new dawn, she allowed herself the space to rebuild. Each morning, as the first rays of sunlight crept through her window, Amara greeted the day with a quiet ritual of reflection. Gone were the days of relentless scheming. Now she focused on small acts of self-care, a warm cup of tea, a walk through the park, and the simple pleasure of journaling her thoughts. These moments, seemingly mundane, were the first steps toward redemption, a slow, steady reclaiming of the life that had once been overshadowed by pain. In the heart of a bustling city park where laughter and gentle conversation filled the air, Amara met with an old friend who had long been a silent pillar of support. Over shared memories and quiet smiles, she began to learn that forgiveness, especially for oneself, was as important as the pursuit of justice. With each conversation, the raw edges of her heart softened just a little more, allowing room for a hopeful future. Have you ever found that the first steps toward healing are the hardest, yet the most rewarding? Share your experiences in the comments below. What small act helped you start your journey to recovery? Slowly, Amara also began to reconnect with the tender parts of her past, the dreams of a life filled with genuine love and trust. In a chance encounter at a local bookstore, she found herself drawn into a conversation with a stranger whose quiet wisdom reminded her that every ending could also mark a new beginning. Their conversation, filled with gentle reassurances and reflections on the beauty of second chances, left her with a renewed belief in the possibility of love that was both kind and true. While the shadows of betrayal lingered like distant memories, they no longer controlled her every thought. Instead, Amara discovered that acknowledging the pain was a crucial part of letting it go. Through therapy, heartfelt conversations with trusted confidants, and long nights spent in introspection, she began to forgive, not just Arav, but also herself for the moments of vulnerability that had once defined her. In a quiet, candlelit room, she penned a final entry in her long journal of retribution, a letter addressed not to her betrayer, but to her own wounded heart. In that letter, she vowed to nurture the fragile light of hope that still flickered within her, promising to embrace the future with cautious optimism and self-compassion. Do you believe that forgiveness can be the first step toward genuine recovery? Or is it simply the beginning of a long, winding journey? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below and share your own stories of redemption. As the days turned into weeks, Amara's transformation became evident not just in her demeanour, but in the quiet strength that now radiated from her. The journey toward recovery was neither linear nor without setbacks, yet each moment of progress reaffirmed that true redemption lay in accepting one's past while daring to envision a brighter future. In a final, symbolic gesture of renewal, Amara visited a serene lakeside at sunset, a place where the reflective water mirrored the vast sky above. There, with the gentle sounds of nature as her backdrop, she allowed herself a moment of pure release, watching as the setting sun slowly dissolved the last traces of yesterday's pain. In that silent communion with nature, she understood that the journey to recovery was ongoing, a continuous process of growth, forgiveness, and the gentle reclaiming of one's spirit. What does redemption mean to you, and how do you find the strength to move forward after deep hurt? We invite you to share your reflections in the comments below. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, Amara stood on a quiet balcony overlooking a city that had witnessed her transformation. The tumultuous chapters of revenge, heartbreak, and redemption had gradually given way to a new era, a chapter defined by hope, self-acceptance, and the promise of a future unmarred by the scars of the past. The final pages of her journey were written not in bitterness, but in the gentle ink of reflection and renewal. In a voice steady with the wisdom of experience, Amara recounted the lessons learned along the arduous path, that while betrayal can leave deep wounds, the courage to forgive oneself and rebuild can ignite a light far brighter than the darkness of deceit. In a serene montage that wove together memories of her earlier pain with the soft, healing moments of her recovery, Amara's narrative came full circle. The echoes of lost love had faded into the background, replaced by a quiet determination to embrace the beauty of life once again. Every step forward was a tribute to the strength she had unearthed within herself, a strength that was now dedicated to fostering a future filled with authenticity and hope. In your own life, have you ever found closure after deep betrayal? And how did that experience shape who you are today? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for joining me on this deeply personal journey, a journey of love, betrayal, and ultimately redemption. If you found strength in this story, please hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to our channel for more real-life inspired tales that remind us of the power of resilience and forgiveness. Your support means the world, and together we can keep inspiring each other to turn our darkest moments into beacons of hope. Every ending is a new beginning. Embrace your journey and let your light shine through. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more stories that empower and inspire.